Level Up Student Achievement Through Gamification and Game-Based Learning by Andy Richard. Implementation and evaluation of my plan. I will use Kia.com as an online review activity for my accounting class. At the end of each chapter, we'll provide an online review activity to help students mastery of the content and prepare for the test. I will collect scores from the review activities and create a leaderboard in the classroom. I'll collect the scores using the snipping tool on the computer, and the students will upload to an online classroom where I will take the scores and plug them into the leaderboard. My personal and professional goals are to create an authentic review activities for my students, use gamification to enhance motivation to learn concepts, and to gain a better knowledge and understanding of the students' mastery of concepts prior to the test. Danielson outcomes that I am demonstrating is demonstrating knowledge of content and pedagogy. I am showcasing this by providing additional scaffolding activities for my students to demonstrate the mastery of the content. I'm also demonstrating knowledge of students by utilizing gamification for my students because according to the study of using games to teach, motivate, and engage students, it shows that the 21st century learners do better in a game-like environment. Learners today are used to thinking on multiple tracks at once. Using games for teaching is one way to reach today's learner. Demonstrating knowledge of resources. I have showcased this by searching the web for a platform that will allow me to have multiple ways to create games. Engaging students in learning. This concept piggybacks on the previous two as I am creating games for learners of the 21st century. And lastly, I am growing and developing professionally by taking classes like this and providing new activities for my students to use in my accounting class. Then anticipated challenges and strategies to address these challenges are the students being engaged with the review activities. I need to create a variety of review activities to keep the students engaged. The platform that I am using allows me to use a variety of Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, matching, battleship, and concentration games. So there is a variety that I can use to keep my students engaged. Another challenge is the time commitment to create online review activities and tasks for each chapter. After planning just the few activities that I created for this class, it took me a few hours to create these, but I plan to update each chapter as we go out through the year, and hopefully by the end of the year, I'll have everything ready for the following school year. Measures taken to consider the needs of the audience. Creating the review activity allows me the ability to give hints to students. I created an alternative review activity that will give hints for students that may struggle with the material. Assure that every student has a computer with flash capabilities. As the software flash starts to be phased out, I need to make sure all my computers have the capability to use flash. Allow students to remain a secret on the leaderboard. I plan on assigning each student a number on the leaderboard so their name is not visible to the entire class to showcase their scores. Give students the option to not have their scores posted on the leaderboard. I'll have this as part of the options students can use when playing the game and being on the leaderboard, as some students may not be comfortable sharing their scores if their random number is assigned to them and is found out by other students. I'll preface this by explaining to the class that we are not here to make fun of any student who scores poorly. This gamification of the classroom is meant to be an incentive to learn, not to ridicule anyone. Hopefully, this eases any apprehensiveness any student may have. Course concepts that I have applied are devise ways to harness the engaging characteristics of game-based learning and gamification to meet my instructional needs. This objective resonates best with me as I outlined in my presentation so far, that I am creating an engaging and interactive lesson for all learners and all levels of my class. Integrate game-based learning and structural strategies that move the classroom towards student-centered and self-directed learning. The game I've created will be self-paced and allow the students to play multiple times to achieve their desired outcome. Create and integrate student formative and summative assessments that are informed by gaming principles. I can formally assess the students by walking around the room to see how each student is utilizing the game to review concepts. The summative assessment for my lesson would be when the students submit a snippet of their screen or screenshot of their completed game to the online classroom. The knowledge and skills the learner will gain from my artifact. Why games are engaging and motivating for students. Games work as a teaching tool because students can play the game multiple times to learn the material. Most games allow students to improve within the game and use what they have learned to effectively complete a task. Because games are not graded, they allow the students to access information for themselves and give them a chance to see where they are having trouble before they engage in graded coursework. My experience designing game-based tasks through my work in this course, my experience with designing this in the course is that it has been fun, but very time consuming. It takes a lot of time to create the task and activities, but once it's done, it's the material that I'll have forever. To assist with the load of creating these tasks, I will try to space this out so that I'm not creating everything all at once and try to do it chapter by chapter. How my audience can assess learning through game elements. They can utilize their learning skills by whether they got a question correct or not. If the student does not answer correctly, the game will show the correct answer so the student can learn from it and try it again the next time. How I can present research that benefits the learning of games. According to the article from the importance of game-based learning in modern education, in today's digital world, it is necessary for students to be able to learn multiple ways, and providing games for review will help reinforce these concepts covered in class. The role of differentiation. Games are a great way to provide differentiation for my classroom. Some students are more hands-on and need to see something happen in order to wrap their brain around it. Adding games to the classroom provides students the ability to learn both inside and outside the classroom. The best practices for implementing game-based learning and gamification. According to the article, Best 10 Practices to Implement Gamification, you want to identify a success criteria, consider alternatives, create a tie-in to business needs, create a story, use science to advance learning, make scoring and winning transparent, keep the rules simple, keep the leaderboard small, use levels and badges appropriately, and test your game before you release it. My 5 key takeaways for my audience are: learning doesn't have to seem like learning, utilizing the review games, practice the games more than once, help your neighbor if they are struggling with concepts, and climb the leaderboard to success. My resources are as follows. Thank you, and I hope you enjoyed my presentation. Next, I will show a demonstration of how my game is played and the different games that I have created for my accounting class. I will now demonstrate how my first game that I created, that is a knockoff of Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, called Rags to Riches. So you can see the question that is given, and then the students will be able to answer that question. And if they get the question incorrect, it will tell them, and then it will ask them to play again. And then it will give them another random question to start. And then when the students get the question correct, they will be able to move on to the next level. And if they are struggling, they can do hints, okay, where it tells them what the answer is not. And then they can move on. But then they are out of hints for that. And then they have to try to climb all the way up to 1 million. And I'll ask the students to create a screenshot of their best score that they were able to have. That was for the first chapter. Also, another one that I have is they have the choice between flashcards, matching, concentration, or a word search. So if they do matching, they need to match the correct term with the correct definition. Okay, and then it'll turn over. And lastly, I have a battleship game where they can start the game and they can guess. And if after they guess, they'll ask a question and they can answer it. And if they don't, then they have to go back and continue to answer that question. And if they do not get it correct, they cannot sink the opponent's battleship. And those were the 3 different games that I created for my accounting class for this class. I hope you enjoyed it.